I think that we can all agree that this film deserves the award for the most overplayed trailer of the year. But you're probably wondering, is the movie any good? Let's talk about it.
Things are getting a little out of hand.
Oh, you think?
Alright, so if you didn't know, The Roses is a remake of the film War of the Roses, which was directed by the legend himself, Danny DeVito, and both are based on the book of the same name, War of the Roses. And honestly, going into this movie, I really had no expectations because I hadn't seen the original. I did look it up. I want to watch it, but it wasn't on any streaming service, so I have to rent it one of these days to see which one's better. But I also, didn't really care too much about this movie after seeing that trailer many times in theaters. I mean, I think I saw it at least 20 times. That's my fault for going to the movies too much, but come on, it's like the Speak No Evil trailer all over again. So yeah, I kind of just went into this one wanting an okay comedy, and I walked out of it saying, yeah, it's a decent adult comedy, but it's nothing great from this year. Like, we had Friendship a couple months ago, which is still in my top 10 of the year. This one's nowhere close to that. It's not a bad comedy, y'all, but it just feels like, it feels like those constant streaming movies that are adult comedies that try to get you to laugh a lot of times, but they also fail in the story department, which this one kind of lacked for me. But I will say the leads of this movie are terrific. Olivia Coleman, Benedict Cumberbatch, Doctor Strange himself. They're actually both in the MCU, but Olivia Coleman is in like the worst thing from the MCU, Secret Invasion. But they're both great here. They kind of really carry this film alongside another element that we'll talk about in a second. But I love their banter. I love their chemistry at the beginning. The story starts with them, kind of being, a classic romance couple getting together, having kids and all that. And then, the film kind of changes. They start having fights. They start arguing about a lot of stuff. They kind of start ruining each other's lives. And the dynamic between them is so great because you can go, 1 second they're having, great conversations about love, about romance, being together as a family. Then the next second they're having an all-out brawl. They're having arguments that are just really well written and just really well performed by them. I love the, passion between both of them. I've always loved Benedict Cumberbatch, Doctor Strange, one of my favorite MCU movies. Olivia Coleman, she's obviously a legend. So they were the best parts about this movie. And I'm afraid if they weren't in it, if they had two other leads, I don't know if this would be, at least okay. It might be a lot worse without them in it. So they're really good in this movie. As I said before, the story is pretty bland. I'm not sure if this is the same story as in the book exactly, and if it's the same as the original. Maybe Danny DeVito added some flair in the original this one needed, because I wasn't too sold on the direction from Jay Roach. He seemed, decent in the role here. I know he's done a lot of popular films before this, but the movie just seemed very incomplete in a way, and it really did rush through that, I'd say first half of the movie. It kind of just, goes to one place to one place to one place in that first half, and I was like, I don't really know what we're doing here. It kind of feels like the script is missing some parts in that first half of the movie. The second half is a lot better because it does slow down. Conversations are being had. It's a lot of script there in that second half. So I didn't really care for the direction here, and cinematography also was not that great. And overall, the story, as I said, it didn't really entertain me all the way through. One other really positive thing about this movie was the script, and it was written by Tony McNamara. He's, of course, the writer of Poor Things, masterpiece in my eyes. Love the script in that movie. And The Favorite, he's really good at writing those Yorgos Lanthimos movies, but he also does great in some other movies. But his writing is always on top, and here it's no different. I mean, he really does a great job at kind of saving this movie alongside the leads of Olivia Coleman and Benedict Cumberbatch. I just loved how greatly the conversations flowed. And you honestly can look at this movie through two lenses. You can go into it and kind of understand the point of view from Benedict Cumberbatch's character side, or the point of view from Olivia Coleman's point of view in the movie, her character. I kind of think that, Benedict Cumberbatch's character was the one that's in the right in this movie, because they're talking about, oh, one of them is needy, the other one doesn't really care what's going on. She only cares about her own personal life in the movie. So it's really interesting, the dynamics that are worked with in this script. I really enjoyed that, and the fights between them are really well handled. Some of the comedy works really well. Some of it didn't really land for me, but there is one dinner group scene that they have with their friends in this movie that has some very funny lines. That was probably the hardest I've laughed in this movie, and that is in that second half, which I think is the strongest part about this movie. So yeah, the script I thought was really well handled. So overall, The Roses is a nice breath of fresh air, but it also isn't great, and I think Searchlight knew that because there really wasn't a lot of marketing for this one outside of that first trailer. Still though, I didn't really walk away disappointed because I hadn't seen the original to compare it to, and I also just went into this one hoping for a decent comedy, which I left thinking it was. The script is easily one of the best parts about this movie, and the performances by Olivia Coleman and Benedict Cumberbatch really make this movie watchable for me, but there's still a lot to be desired with this one. The Roses gets a low 6.5 out of 10. I hope you all enjoyed this review. If you did, make sure to leave a like on this video as it does help out a lot and it's free to do so. And if you also saw The Roses, leave your own thoughts down below in the comments. I'd love to discuss it with you, even if you hated it, even if you loved it more than me, that's a-okay. But that's going to do it for this review. I hope you guys did enjoy. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.